flies off. So, my first question to you today is, what are you hiding behind? I love that. I wish you could be up here. I say, what are you hiding behind? I hear this rumble of So it's a good question, isn't it? What are you hiding behind? You know, all of us hide behind a lot of different things. You know, one of the things she said in the first line of the song is, I'm through disguising flaws. How many of you spend a lot of your life trying to disguise the flaws you think you have? Janet. Okay. And Kevin. Okay. So I think a lot of us do that. You know, what are your flaws? I mean, do you really even have flaws? Is there really such a thing as a flaw in the perfect world of God, where everything is acting and interacting exactly the way it's supposed to? When we really believe that, what's the deal with flaws? Now, obviously, the first flaw to look at that we should talk about is physical, because that's kind of the first things we see. You know, our physical flaws. I mean, I don't have any, but I'm sure. I don't know why you're laughing. Actually, I think I've told this story before, but once I was standing in front of a mirror and I was getting a little belly, and I said to Kevin, I said, Kev, I think I'm getting a little belly, and he said, you should see it from the back. Do you remember that? That was yesterday, and no, it wasn't. But I gotta tell you, the minute he said it, and you're like, my God, where'd that come from? I went right to the gym because I felt I did have a flaw, and that was something that had to be handled, and I handled it, and they're back, and oh well. He knows better than to say it again. So, but really, seriously, folks, about your flaws, forget mine. What do you consider a flaw? Like, what shows up and derails you? I had a sty like 2 weeks ago, and I literally, that sty grew so big, Martha walked into her class and she went, oh, what's on your eye? And it's like, all right, fine, I'm gonna name it. It's a little pet, it's growing there. But I had this sty, and it seems like a flaw, although my eye doctor, when I went to him, he goes, you know, everybody gets these, it's just something that your body's doing what it needs to do. I was like, well, tell it to stop doing that. And now I still have a little piece of it left, and I could really go crazy over like, oh my God, my perfect face has a little flaw in it now, besides those other flaws that have come along the way. But this is an important question to ask ourselves. Where do we, I mean, these are just silly little things, but where do you have flaws that you are allowing to slow you down, or to block you, or to stop you? It's a really good question. Someone's answering it. It's a really good question, this idea of where are your flaws? So she says, I'm finished disguising flaws. Then she says, there's a line in the song that says, today is your day, now is your time. I think that we allow our flaws to stop us from recognizing now's the time. Now's not the time. The time is going to be when I'm perfect. And you're never going to be perfect if you don't think you are now, because you will always be imperfect in some way, because imperfection is the absolute necessity of perfection for all of it to be able to come together. What if we all looked exactly alike in this room? We were all at the epitome, the highest level, watching the royal wedding yesterday, watching the people come in. It's amazing to listen to the commentators talk about this woman could have chosen better for her dress. This woman wore the exact right. And then someone said something about somebody, and Kevin and I looked at each other and went, really? Well, I don't think she looks so good. So this judgment thing, remember? I'm not telling you who it was, although I could. That's the world we live in. And it stops us from just letting it all hang out, letting ourselves be who we want to be. And that's really where celebration comes into play. So she says, today is your day, now is your time. You've got no more need for camouflage. You don't. What do we really need camouflage for? Do you know there are people that want to be like speakers, want to be public speakers, and I work with a lot of them. And the biggest problem with most people when they get up on stage is that they have an image of what they're supposed to look and sound like. And therefore, they're not authentic, they seem wooden, and I don't care. Go to Toastmasters till your head falls off your shoulders. It's not going to help. Because if you can't be authentic, you're just learning how to perfectly show your inauthenticity. They are teaching everyone the same thing, how to get up and present. This is how you get up and be a speaker. No, it isn't. The greatest speakers are the ones that just get up and allow. And the greatest actors are the ones that tap into the divine and just allow. Meryl Streep was told when she was young, ad nauseum, get your nose fixed. If you don't, you will never make it in this business. She's never changed her nose. She stayed exactly who she was, and I think she's done okay. So what, just a little, yeah. So what, the woman can read the phone book and get an Oscar nomination. So what's going on with you? What's going on in your life where you've identified something and said, I'm not willing to celebrate that because that's a flaw. That's a problem. That's something I need to fix. And I'm not saying we can't decide to do things we want to do for ourselves, but identifying them as flaws and holding on to that. Do you know, some people hold on to their flaws their entire life because they can't get past the fact that that's a flaw. So, my computer keeps turning on and off. So, today, and it's so funny because Jason did the meditation this morning, and his meditation was exactly what I'm talking about today, which is celebrating you, celebrating yourself. It's not just about celebrating, it's celebrating you. And it's in Heather's song as well. You know, what do you see when you see you? Everything you do in this world is coming from your opinion of yourself. If you can't celebrate every aspect of you, I can celebrate my love handles because I know how many pints of Haagen-Dazs got them there. And I honor all of that eating. I really do. And yet, last night, it was around 10:30, we got back from poker where I perfectly lost, although Eric Bork won. And so I got back and all I wanted was ice cream. But I actually thought to myself, you know what? I don't want to feel what I'm going to feel like when I wake up eating ice cream at 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So it was just a choice, bless you. It wasn't because I thought it would make me a little fatter. I'd have more handles. I'd forget the handles, I'd have the entire car. It wasn't, it was just a choice. So one of our things is the perspective of, can we learn to celebrate ourselves even with our so-called flaws? So, the title, that's not the title of my talk, Celebrate You. The title of my talk is, ready? Don't forget the confetti. I'll explain. So don't forget the confetti. So when we were doing the musical Dorian, I wrote a musical based on the picture of Dorian Gray called Dorian, and we did a production of it in Denver, very gorgeous, at the Buell Theater, the largest theater in the United States. Gorgeous theater. And we had this confetti stuff. We had these confetti cannons, and the people threw confetti, and I think weren't there confetti cannons on the floor too, because there was a Mardi Gras scene. And I remember in rehearsal, the dress rehearsal, I was like telling them, I was like, as much confetti as you can put in there. This needs to blow this theater apart. As much confetti as you can put in there. So we're in tech rehearsal, and we're about to do the confetti for the first time. And they're on stage singing, and the confetti, and the moment comes, and I hear the stage manager, Richard, he goes, all right, go with the confetti. And all these things pop, and all of a sudden, there was so much confetti, there was no people left on stage. It was just all of this confetti. And of course, Kevin, who's the executive producer, is like, you just wasted so much confetti. And it was true. But once the confetti landed, it was this amazing sea of confetti. And I've had that image in my head for so long, walking through life in a sea of already used confetti, reminding me that it's constantly a party. Don't you love that image? Oh well, I do. Right? So, do you know the expression, pull out all the stops? When's the last time you pulled out all the stops of your life? Really pulled out all the stops. First, I'm going to tell you where this expression comes from, because you're not going to... Anybody think they know? Don't raise it out. Don't tell me. Just tell me if I'm right. I don't want you to tell them. I want to tell them. Just tell me if I say pipe organ, you're right. Okay, so how many people don't know where that came from? So most of you. Okay, so pull out all the stops it was a British thing, and it was this organ, pipe organ. In order to allow the sound, the air to filter through the pipe, you had to pull out the stop to allow the sound to come through. So pull out all the stops meant to pull out everything and allow the organ to just sing. Isn't that cool? And then it just became a metaphor for you pulling out the stops, pulling out the places where you block yourself, where you absolutely keep that thing that voice in you, that music in you, that divine energy in you from coming out. So back to the question of, what are your flaws? How about where are you stopping this from coming forward? Where are you stopping the music of your life from happening? Where are you? What's going on in your life that causes you to focus on that more than pulling out the stops? So, where do you need to pull out a few stops? And then here's another question. What's keeping some of those stops in? What's keeping them in? What's keeping you from pulling them out? You're too old? Did you pull out one stop too many and you're afraid now? What is it? What's keeping those stops in? So yesterday, the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So I said it earlier. They didn't pull out all the stops, to be honest. It may have looked like that on television, but I saw an interview of the two of them, and they were like, we really want an intimate wedding. But by the standards of England's kings and queens and princes, they had an intimate wedding. They really did. And their reception went from 600 people to 200 people. They had a wedding reception for 200 people because they didn't want it to be a big party, a big media frenzy. They wanted 200 of their best friends and family to come and celebrate their love. I think that's amazing. That is pulling out all the stops to allow the authenticity of the music to come through them and be celebrated with everyone. And I had I said to Kevin last night, and I actually meant this. I said, I'm sorry that I didn't become so successful that I would have been invited to that wedding. I said that to him, and Kevin looked at me like, what? Was that surprising for you to hear? No, because it's me. But I really thought about that. I thought, I have not pulled out all the stops yet. Because I would have loved, how many of you would have loved to be invited to that wedding? Okay, and the rest of you, whatever. So I would have loved to be invited to that wedding. I would have loved to be invited to that wedding and in the front of the wedding, not in the back where George Clooney was. I would have wanted to, or Oprah was in the front. I would have wanted to be in the front, right? And I thought to myself, why am I sitting watching it on TV and George Clooney's sitting, now I know you all know the obvious answer to that, but George Clooney's sitting there. But here's the real question. Why is that man there and this man here? What do we teach? What do we know? It's the way we've used our minds. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. If you're sitting here thinking it's destiny, destiny is not that. Destiny is the result of how you use your mind. Pure and simple. That's it. So why is he there and I'm here? And if I want to be there, what did I not do or what can I do to make sure that when the next one gets married, I'm there? Is there another one coming up? Well, somebody. Yeah, right, when little Grace or whatever her name is. But this is an important question. It's not just about the royal wedding and why wasn't I there. It's about you and your life. Why aren't you where you say you want to go or be, celebrating your life with all stops pulled out, just in the midst of the most amazing expression of life you've ever experienced? Why not? The only answer to that is because we're using our minds in ways that don't put us there. And to tell you the truth, celebrate is at the center of it all. The more you can celebrate in your life, the more celebrations you will be invited to. Because if you are nothing but a walking celebration machine, and you celebrate everything and everyone, especially yourself, if you're willing to celebrate yourself in the midst of a sty the size of Cleveland. Somebody even said to me, well, maybe you still going to do church on Sunday because the camera's going to hit your sty. I was like, yes, I'm going to do church. I told the cameras to back up. So if you are willing to celebrate, I actually did. If you are willing, they didn't, but I did. So if you are willing to celebrate everything and understand where it all comes from, and that means everything. You're fired from a job, you celebrate it because there's a reason for that. You break up, a marriage ends, you celebrate it because it wasn't meant to continue. If it was meant to continue, it wouldn't have ended. You get something wrong with your body, you celebrate it because you understand it's telling me something. What am I here to know? When I had cancer, I didn't exactly celebrate because I wasn't where I am now 8 years ago. But I will tell you this, I was willing to hear whatever I needed to hear. Now, I would celebrate and understand something's here for me. That's the mindset. We have that mindset, and we will be literally at every celebration of life there is. So, I have a quote here. C.S. Lewis, "You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream." Now, the irony here is I'm 63 years old, so you're never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. There was a person I spoke to, not this week, the week before, who was 29, about to turn 30. This was an actor who hadn't had his big break yet. And he said, if it doesn't happen by 30, it's done. And I just looked at him and I went, well, thank you very much. I said, I'm 63. I still expect another enormous break in my life to happen. So why on earth would you think it's over at 29? And he started telling me, he says, well, after that, you start looking older. I said, again, thank you very much. I said, just know you're telling me this, and I'm 63 years old. He says, yeah, but you have all this success. I went, what I have to you looks like success. What George Clooney has looks to me like success. And what Oprah has looks to George Clooney as success. And poor Oprah, she's just the most successful person ever. So she's just she's like, I know I'm God. And so there you go. And so it is. So ultimately, C.S. you are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. When I say don't forget the confetti, here's the deal. If you know you are going to need confetti, you should be carrying it. Seriously, metaphorically. If you know that you are about to go, if you knew that you were going to be at that wedding and they were all throwing confetti, wouldn't you have it with you? Wouldn't you make sure you had it? Had yourself some? Well, here's the deal. You all have metaphysical confetti in the thing that you call your conscious mind, ready to celebrate anything, anywhere, at any time, and it's always available. The problem is we don't remember we put it there. We don't remember that it's actually there. How many times have you tried to find something and not remembered where you put it? Right? And you even put it there so you wouldn't forget. Right? All of us, right. Well, God put confetti in your head, in your consciousness, and probably, definitely, God put confetti cannons in there to hold the confetti so that at any moment you know and identify and recognize and realize and celebrate what's going on. It's like, and there is this explosion and everything goes silent. And you can't see any of the actors. And it just floats down, and everybody's looking at you like that was the biggest mistake of your directing career. And then it all settles, and the rest of the show happens, and every time someone moves, a puff of confetti. And you're like, it was perfect. We did cut it back about 50%. But I think that was a financial decision. So there's the question. Do you have the confetti in your mind ready? Is the confetti ready to celebrate your life? That's what you have to leave here with today. Confetti ready. I am confetti ready. Are you confetti ready? Let's all say, I am confetti ready. I am confetti ready. Okay, there's nothing more to say except the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Ernest Holmes. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So, your thoughts come from your beliefs. And that takes me right back to, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? And you know what, since we brought her up, I think Oprah knows who she is. I really do. I think she's worked at it. You ever watch her early show in Chicago when she was first a newscaster? She was awkward and not so great. But that didn't stop her. She didn't look at that, see the flaw, and go, oh, God, I'm never going to be Barbara Walters. No, you're not. You're going to be bigger than Barbara Walters. And she just kept going and going and going and going. And she's still going and going and going. I believe if you asked her, she'd probably tell you she hasn't pulled all the stops out yet, and we would all be like, what? Well, guess what? She hasn't, because she's still here. She's still alive. That means there's more stops to pull out. Same thing for you, same thing for me. I do believe, however, that Oprah is confetti ready at any moment. And I also know that I am too. I know that I've made a shift in these last few months since I don't know why or where. Yes, I do, because I am more prayed up than I've ever been, but it's just shifting. And it's you too. It's the classes that are going on here. It's this last 5 questions class. Literally, I want to thank you all. And like 50 of you showed up every week here and went to sleep in the chairs while we pondered these 5 questions. And it has literally blown the roof off of my own head about how much of my life is still needing to be lived, how much more there is for me to do, how much more there is to show the world, to teach the world. I was just going to go, I want to teach the world to sing. I just want to teach the world who they are by knowing it. That's what Oprah's doing. She's showing the world who they are by being who she is. That's what we get to do. And Ernest Holmes said, give me 1,000 people who really live this teaching. Give me 1,000 people who know who they are. Put them out in the world, and the world will transform. Well, here's 200 of them. You walk out into the world by knowing who you are. You walk out into the world confetti ready and use that confetti all over the place. Celebrate it everywhere. Wouldn't it be funny if we all actually did this? We all walked out into our worlds. Everybody had pockets of confetti. And anytime somebody did something, oh my God, that's great. I would love that. Couldn't you imagine? And then people would just say, I go to the confetti church. That's not a church. So that's really what I wanted to give you today. This whole idea, don't forget the confetti. Because if you're forgetting the confetti, you are forgetting who you are. If you're not celebrating you every single day, celebrating some aspect of you, don't look for it out there. Celebrate who you are and let it out. If you have a sty, if you have a pimple, whatever. I love the beginning of her song about putting the makeup on. Forget it. Try going out without makeup. I do occasionally. Just try being you. Being okay with you, knowing that you are not only enough, you are more than enough, and you are equal to whatever great experience life has to offer. The only thing is, don't forget the confetti. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.